What's up, dudes? Welcome to the Absolutely Podcast with me, Sam Lachow, and
David the Struggle Monster.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna assume that that logo is gone now. The Absolutely logo with our new theme song. It's super cool, pretty exciting. We are gonna be moving into a new studio soon that we're gonna be setting up. Maybe we'll document the setting up of it. Might do a cool new background or something. We might order some what is it, like a tapestry and tape it? No, yeah, some sort of background wall. But I will miss this cool brand new bike thing. Speaking of this, the brand new bike vinyls are on sale at store.samlachow.com. That's where my merch is. Merch really helps. Also, by the time this video comes out, there will still be, we have a sale going on all of these items. Hopefully that'll work. Out with the old, in with the new, trying to make new merch, trying to, save up to be able to buy a bunch of new merch and stuff. So help us out. They're going to be gone soon, so yeah, get those. Another thing is this number right here. Text me, please. People ask if it's actually me. It is me. And I get back to you when I can. I try to get back to everybody. I'm getting some weird questions lately about my balls and about wives and worms and something, and I respond to those too. Respond to it all. Also, feel free to hit me up if you haven't yet and ask for the cover art to my new project, Songs That Are Home, before I release it to the public. Or you can also get exclusive private link to the Panic at the Dive Bar music video shot by Justin Frick, and it's very cool. Oh, big time. Last thing, my album comes out September 1st. Add crowd noise. Very exciting. Songs Without a Home. A lot of the songs have already been released as singles, but we're gonna be bringing them back, baby. And then there's a whole bunch of brand new stuff that you haven't heard. And make sure you stay tuned till the end of this video because I'm gonna do a little snippet of a new song, as I do. So we have our we're at least trying out this new version of this podcast where I have segments. So we got the promotional segment, which I'm almost done once I get through my upcoming show dates, and then we got the silly stories times where because I've just lived through a bunch of random ass stories and I have more than enough to fill up years of podcasts. So I'm gonna give you guys a story, and then we got the How's Sammy section. I still want to change that name, and that is the section where I talk about way more personal stuff, my mental health, dealing with sobriety and where I'm at with all that stuff. And that I'm only doing on my Patreon. Please subscribe to the Patreon to get the full videos, and you get so many more videos. And we aren't monetizing these videos on YouTube at all, so we get nothing from these. So if you want to support, the Patreon's the best way to do it. Help us set up the studio. And now they're going to be paying for studio space, but we could really use it. So love you guys. The show's coming up. Bellingham, September 9th. That is coming soon. Then I got Seattle at Chop Suey, one of my favorite venues to play. It's a nice intimate show. We're gonna get rowdy. It's gonna be a fucking blast. That's September 23rd. Spokane, October 7th. That'll be my birthday show. Spokane. My birthday is October 16th. We're gonna celebrate it that night. It's gonna be hoot and a half. I got half of mine to play Portland also. Let's do Portland. We're gonna do Portland 11/17, November 17th, and I can't wait because of these shows. Because the next vlog I have coming out will probably be the celebratory vlog for the album being released. So for this one, I thought it appropriate to tell some concert stories. But I think we'll call this episode like concert horror stories or something like that. So let's get into it now. Silly stories times. Welcome to Silly Stories. Welcome to Silly Stories Times with Sam Lachow and Devin McWevversteins. Yeah, we're gonna do some concert stories, man. I'm sure I have so many more, but I narrowed it down to a few. First, I'm going to talk about just a little bit before I started being able to tour and actually have hotels, and we had a van and stuff. Once we started playing shows where people would come out, we were basically in one car crammed together, staying on people's couches and floors, and it was. I would never do it again. It's really fucking hard to not be able to shower where you want and not have a place to kind of recoup. And for me, I'm introverted, so I need space from people sometimes. But I was much younger then and just didn't really give a fuck, and I was fucked up all the time. So I remember I have these memories fondly. But one funny thing was we stayed in this random this dude who was a fan, him and his buddy, they let us stay. It was in Arizona. They let us stay at his spot, this tiny apartment. We get there and there's a bunch of like costumes and like weird masks and shit. And it turns out that they're up and coming, or like trying to make like prank videos where they like scare people and shit like that. And we're like, all right, dope. And we're like just having fun trying on these like old man masks. Oh, I have a picture of me in the old man mask somewhere. I'll try to find that and put it up there. It's so funny. I'm still friends with these guys today, and the dude who owned the place, his name's Dawes. Big Dawes TV is his name. Picture of him right here. And now he's like a huge YouTube prankster guy. He just went to the fucking Warriors. I showed you that video. He went to the Warriors stadium, and because he looks kind of like Klay Thompson, and they somehow let him in, and he's just the man. So shout out to Big Dawes. But yeah, those days were just so fun, just meeting new people, and probably it sounds a little dangerous saying it now, but just staying at random fans' cribs and just sleeping on the floor, and yeah, it was good times. After that, I started gaining more momentum and being able to do my own tours and stuff. I wanted to talk a little bit about the tour I went on with Ritz, my homie Ritz. Shout out to Ritz. Here's a picture of Ritz. So I opened for Ritz. We did 59 cities, 59 shows in 59 cities in 61 days, which is pretty gnarly. Like, that's just no days off, which I kind of like, because on days off, you're wasting money on a hotel. You don't really know what to do with yourself at that point. And you're running on fumes, and you're running on adrenaline. So like that's kind of, with a day off, you might start to crash, you might get sick. But still, this was probably too much. Like 59 shows in 61 days is just kind of crazy. We agreed to this tour. I'm nervous, of course. I get nervous before a tour, especially when I'm opening for someone, because I've never met the dude. What if the dude's an asshole? Spoiler alert, he's not. He's the man. Rich is the homie. But he is, or at the time, was part of Strange Music, which is Tech Nine's squad. And Strange Music fans, they're insanely loyal, but they're crossed the line of juggalos. Sort of, they're juggalos, and Strange Music fans are not too far off. And I love juggalos too. Like, they're some of the nicest people ever. Not hating on them at all, but very new for me. It was not what I was used to. And they can also be very rowdy and very much die hard for what they want, which in this case, since Rich is a headliner, it's majority fans for him. So I remember me and Wilson Luxurious were, I think it was just us two doing this tour. So he was DJing, I was rapping. We're like, it was the first show, and it was like in Detroit, which is like where hella, where Eminem's from, hella like white rapper fans and like Juggalo fans, and like just not really my crowd that I was used to. And it happened to be just a very awkward show. The lights were bad, the venue was way too big, there wasn't enough people, so it was all kind of scattered out. Like, the sound was awful for me and Wilson. I remember we start playing a song, and there's one guy in the front row who's clearly drunk and kind of stumbling, and he's looking up at me, just staring, going like this. So I'm kind of trying not to make eye contact with him, like, and I know that Wilson sees him too. At the time, it's like terrifying and awful. We're like, how the fuck are we gonna get through this show? And of course, there's one other guy at some point that's like, where's Reds? And we're just, okay. When you have like a bad show, at the time, it's like the end of the world. But then after, when you're hanging out with your buddy talking about it, there's no better laugh than that. So we are just crying, laughing, like we're getting sandwiches after, just dying, because we finally could talk about it. I'm like, did you see that motherfucker in the front row going like this the whole time? But what was so bad about it is that it was the first show, and we're like, oh wait, we have 58 more of these. What's funny is it wasn't like that at all. It was like, it ended up being a great tour, and that was the worst show of the whole tour. That is a scary feeling, being like, I am stuck on this thing, and I don't know if I'm gonna get beat up at one of these shows. I don't like, and people were getting kicked out for being way too drunk. It was just a bad scene, and now it's hilarious. But one other show on that tour, it was in Peoria, I think Peoria, Illinois. And I could not for the life of me, I think I've told this story in the past somewhere, but I could not for the life of me remember the name while I'm on stage. We do the little gimmick for Lemony Snicket, where we go, the real lyrics are, I don't like the Seattle police. I said, I don't like the Seattle police. And everyone says that part. And we would switch it up for whatever city we're in, That part's coming up, and I'm like racking my brain, like, what the fuck is the name? And I end up just going, instead of like just changing it or going like saying Seattle or something, I just guess. So I go, I don't like the Pewtery Police. I said, I don't like the Pewtery Police. Trying to get them to sing that. Wilson's panicking. I'm panicking. Just I stick with it. I just own it. The Pewtery. No, Pewtery. It just was what I was like. Cause I was like, what the fuck? It sounds kind of like Peoria. I was like, what is the name? I think this is it. So I just hoped it was, and people were kind of confused. And it's also just way too many syllables. Don't like the Pewtery Police. The fans there were not for me, so they were just kind of. The other thing that happened at this show was before the show, someone requests a song called Matilda, which it's a song that I love. It's on Huckleberry, which, by the way, you can pre-sale vinyl. We finally making Huckleberry vinyls. They request Matilda, and John and I are like, you know, we're probably on like show 38 or something. So at this point, we're just kind of, we're not getting nervous before shows and all. We're kind of thinking we're killing it. Like, we know our set so well. We're like, yeah, we could just add different songs. Let's give it a shot. We haven't performed this ever, but let's give it a shot. And at the end, there's this big keyboard solo. It's like a synth solo. And I'm like, John, can you handle that? John, he's not very good at keyboard, but he plays enough to like be able to. And he's just dope on stage. So he had this keytar. I'll try to put a picture of Wilson with his keytar. I'm sure there's one up there. So he has to go all the way around the DJ booth, put the keytar on to get ready for his solo. So I asked him before the show, like, are you going to be able to do this solo? Like, do you know what key it's in? Do you know remember how it goes? He listens to it once. He's like, yeah, I think so. And if for some reason I like can't find the notes, which I doubt will happen, I'll just cue you on stage and let you know that I can't figure it out. So I'm like, all right. Now we're at the show. We're playing Matilda. Like, this one's for you. The two fans are in the audience. Like, yeah. So we're doing that song. And then the keytar solo. I'm like, ladies and gentlemen, Wilson Luxurious on the keytar. And the big part starts up. And he goes, bleep, bleep. Tried twice. Neither of them were in the right key. Nope. I just go, everybody put your fucking hands up.
You introduced him.
I introduced him and everything. He walked around the set. Here we go. Blink. Bloop. Imagine us in tears talking about that after, because at the time, just his face of panic. Oh man, we still die about that. It's amazing. Okay, this is a sort of quicker one, I think. This is when I'm like in peak, like fucked up all the time. So Sasquatch, this big festival in Washington at the Gorge, is going on, and I'm not playing it. I get a call the night before because Mac Miller dropped out, because it was when, what was his girlfriend's name? It was when Ariana Grande's show, like, what's up, Eddie? There was like an explosion at her show or something. I don't remember exactly what happened, but he had to go go be with her for that, so he couldn't be there at Sasquatch. So they asked me to fill in his spot. So it was at like a huge stage, and I'm like, all right, fuck it. I haven't slept, of course, so I stay up partying all night. Go to Sasquatch. I'm like just so fucked up, haven't slept. Wilson was with me. We get there, and it's like one of the biggest crowds I've ever seen in my life, because we're not really thinking much of it. And then we get there, I'm like, holy fuck. Like, you couldn't see. I have some dope pictures of it. We'll try to look up and maybe put right here. And I remember I'm wiling out on stage, having so much fun. It probably helped that I was so fucked up at that point, because we didn't have time to like rehearse, of course. We found out the day before. So without rehearsing, I probably would have been nervous as shit, but I didn't give a fuck. I was just wiling out, having a blast. We kind of killed our set, but at one point, I'm doing a huge, like, everyone put your hands up. And I have a bad... my shoulder pops out occasionally, very rarely, but with certain things like swimming. But anyway, I have a bad shoulder, but it's never happened on stage. But on stage in front of all these people, it goes, clunk, pops out. And I could just kind of hold it there, and I'm just praying it'll pop back in on its own. So I'm kind of making a joke out of it, just like, ooh, I turn around, and clunk, it pops back in. And because I was so fucked up, it didn't really hurt that bad. But like when that happens, it hurts for days. So the next day I was fucked. But I just continued playing the show, and we got through it. I think that's going to be it for Silly Stories time. So the next segment I'm getting into is How's Sammy, where I'm going to talk a little bit more about how I'm doing. And this one's only for Patreon. So please subscribe to the Patreon. We're going to give the link right here. Welcome to How's Sammy. That's it. Now let's move on to movies of the week and one book. Movies of the week, baby. All right, first one. It's a random ass movie. It's called A Simple Plan. It's starring, what's the dude's name who Angelina Jolie dated? Billy Bob Thornton. And some other dudes, and it's just such an entertaining movie. I forget what streaming shit it's on, but it's on one of them. Let's do a funny picture of Millie Bobby Brown Thornton right here. It's just such an entertaining movie. It's and it's like a classic that people kind of forgot about. The other one, this is just one that it's like my family, we watch it like once a year, but it's called Keeping the Faith. Edward Norton and Ben Stiller. Great movie, hilarious. I don't know. I want you guys to watch it and tell me if it's as funny and great as I think it is, or if it's just one of those like inside joke movies that we just love. But yeah, it's fantastic. And then the book is it's by a guy named Eckhart Tolle. It's called The Power of Now. And that's I wanted that book because in the Patreon section I talked just about resentments and getting out of your own head. And I'm not going to try to explain this book because it's one you just gotta read yourself. But I read passages of it all the time, and I've read the whole thing multiple times. And it's like there's always something in there that just helps me. And it's short. It's basically by a dude. He was suicidal at the age of 29. And then he had like a spiritual awakening, got rid of all his material things. It kind of sounds like a manic episode or something, but he learned how to be happy and wrote a book about it. And now he goes around talking to people, and he's very, very famous. His videos on YouTube are fucking awesome too, and they've helped me a lot. So that's all I got for tonight. Next episode the album will be out, baby. So we're celebrating. We're going to pop some kombucha. See you guys. Thank you for watching episode 2 of Absolutely. This song is off Songs Without a Home. It is called Creature Under the Floorboard, featuring Easy Mac.
I could probably count it on one hand. Amount of time I went down. La 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 la. Heathen, scumbag.